On today's show, I'm going to be telling you how the Clippers ended up falling short in Houston in their first of two straight games against the Rockets. Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, been a Clipper fan for 21 years, been covering the team on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for 6, and 4 right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell on the road to 9,000 subscribers before the end of the season. And of course, you can listen to wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On is now the number one sports podcast network in America. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's number one sports book. Head on over to FanDuel and play your game. All right, Clipper Nation, in this episode, we're going to be talking about our game against the Houston Rockets on Tuesday night. We have another game against them on Wednesday night to end off our pre-All-Star break part of the season. We were not able to come up with the win in this one. It was a tough game against a very solid team, a team in which we've beaten at home this season, but we have not been able to beat them on the road. Of course, the last time we played them, it was that game where we got crushed on the glass. We were just starting to pick up momentum, in mid-December. But I'm going to be talking about how we went ice cold throughout the game, especially this stretch towards the end of the third quarter and beginning of fourth. The debut of new Clipper Ben Matherin and Isaiah Jackson, and the issues that this roster has right now until we see Darius Garland return to the floor. So this game against Houston, the Rockets are a good team. And my biggest takeaway right off the bat was that they had 2 stars and we had 1. Kawhi Leonard, there is a lot on his plate right now to help us win games in terms of the offensive load he has to carry. And in this game, we only scored 95 points, which is not much for today's NBA. The Rockets beat us 102-95. Kawhi Leonard had 24 points. Kevin Durant had 26 and Alperen Şengün had 22. The next highest scorer for us was John Collins with 17, and he was the only other Clipper in double figures. So the reality is we just didn't make enough shots. Now the question is, did we create enough good shots? My answer is yes. But we aren't going to be creating the same amount of good looks as we did when we had James Harden. Just a simple fact. He's one of the better shot creators the game has ever seen. You lose a guy like that and his replacement hasn't actually come in yet in Darius Garland, you're not going to be getting a lot of good shots. So my biggest takeaway is that we just could not put the ball in the hole enough to win. And the biggest stretch for me was towards the end of the third quarter, because in the first quarter, we were only down by 1 after it, 26-27. And we were actually winning by a point, 52-51 at halftime. It kind of was a tale of the first half of the season Clippers, but to a lesser degree, with the fact that our third quarter was the biggest drop-off for us, or our worst quarter in terms of point differential. We got outscored 27-20 in that quarter. And I think the biggest takeaway when you look at the box score quarter by quarter is that we only scored a maximum of 26 points in any of the quarters. So we never scored even 27 points in a quarter, which tells you that our offense was not rolling on all cylinders. Now, I am going to be objective and say that the Houston Rockets defense was a part of this. They made life tough on Kawhi. Dorian Finney-Smith, Tari Eason, Amen Thompson, these guys did as good of a job as you can on Kawhi. Kawhi is not going to be the type of player that's going to blow by you a ton, that's going to get 2 feet in the paint a ton at this stage of his career. But he's going to create enough space and bump you enough to get his mid-range off. And I think having these bigger wings like a Tari Eason or a Dorian Finney-Smith or a Amen Thompson did give Kawhi Leonard a little bit more trouble in getting very clean looks off. And I thought that the Rockets did a really solid job defensively throughout the game. So part of it, you got to just give them some credit, right? But I don't think that that was enough for us to lose. I don't think that the Rockets defense was so good that we could not win. We just did not make enough shots, and we were going to need more outside of Kawhi, truthfully. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm having, or that doesn't mean that I'm excusing Kawhi or absolving him of blame. He was not good enough in this game. 24 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 turnover on 7 for 19 shooting and 2 for 7 from 3, 8 for 9 from the free throw line. I mean, that's not a very efficient Kawhi Leonard game. Now, it is his 32nd game scoring 20 or more points, which is now the longest streak since World Be Free before we even moved to LA. So let's see how much longer that streak can go. I don't see it stopping anytime soon when he's on the court. But 7 for 19, that's not great. And all these shots were Kawhi shots, but I will say there were some threes he took that I thought weren't great, that were contested, not really in rhythm. And I know he can make contested threes, but they just felt like when you saw him shoot it, that's not a great shot. That's not in rhythm. He hit 1 contested three, but a lot of the other ones weren't great shots. Kobe Sanders even took 1 bad three in the first half. I'll talk about Ben Matherin in a bit, but he took some questionable shots. Personally, I think Kawhi should still look to shoot more threes. I shouldn't say more threes, but he should still look to shoot a high volume of threes like he's been shooting. His average right now is 7 threes a game. But I don't think he needs to take bad threes. I think, and now the question, you posed the question, what is a bad three for Kawhi? I think too much, if the defender is kind of not really giving him room and Kawhi's just facing up, pulling a contested three over the top, I don't think that's a great shot. If he's creating space off the handle, different. And Kawhi Leonard did break Tari Eason's ankles at one point in this game, which the handle that Kawhi has now is almost as impressive as his improvement in his jump shot, if not more. It is amazing. But we just could not hit shots. And it was that stretch towards the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter where we could not hit the broadside of a barn. The Rockets went on a 7-0 run to start the fourth, but Kobe Sanders could not make an open shot to save his life in this game. Yannick was struggling with Alperen Şengün in the post, and that's it's going to take some time for him to learn how to guard good post players, but we just could not hit a shot. Missing putbacks, missing open jumpers. And then finally, Benedict Matherin had an and one. And the funny part is we were getting stops during this stretch, but we just couldn't score. And then Kawhi was taken out of the game with 5 minutes and 39 seconds left. So it was basically in the refrigerator, and we kind of conceded somewhat early given that we have a back-to-back on Wednesday. But I will give some credit to the lineup that came in after Delano Banton, Isaiah Jackson, Ben Matherin, and those guys. We went on an 8-0 run to make it 87-94, and then Reed Shepherd hit a three off of a Kevin Durant blitz. And Ty Washington actually missed a floater that could have made it a 5-point game. But that was that. In my opinion, we just didn't shoot well enough. We shot 41% as a team. They shot 46%. And then the big kicker, going back to what it was like in the beginning of the season when every single team was shooting better than us from three, they shot 50% from deep. We shot just 27. And then maybe the most glaring statistic of all, we are the best free throw shooting team in the league, but in this game, the Rockets shot 89% from the free throw line, and we shot 65% from the free throw line. 15 for 23. Jordan Miller missing almost half of them with 3 of the 8 misses. 3 for 6 from J. Mill. Isaiah Jackson missed 2 straight free throws late in the game. So just like that, that's 5 misses. And then John Collins missed 1, Kawhi Leonard missed 1, and Yannick missed 1. So overall, we just needed better shot making. We needed to make our open shots. We needed to score more than 26 points in a quarter. Is that partially because of the Rockets defense? Absolutely. But we could have been better. Point blank, period. So those are my overall takeaways. Just didn't have enough of a good shot making game, even without the shot creation that we lack with Harden and Garland. I still think we got enough good looks. We just didn't hit them. Final score is 102-95 in favor of the Houston Rockets. The Clippers are now 25-28 on the season. We have still won 19 out of our last 26 games. But coming up, going to be looking at the debut of Benedict Matherin. I was very, very encouraged by it, despite the cold shooting. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. You never know what kind of employees are out there, but Indeed helps you find the right ones. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want someone who can help. I'd want someone with real experience who can jump right in and make a difference. And that's the best part about Indeed, that you can get specific and target exactly what you need on the market. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. I got to tell you a little something about Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. On Game Time, I was able to secure tickets for Game 1 of the NLCS, and I got a solid deal on it. Same with the opening games at Intuit Dome last season. And one thing that was easy for me is that I was able to see the all-in price up front without surprise fees at checkout, because so many times these companies add like $50 to your total at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club and listen to this. Not only does it give you access to an ad-free audio version of Locked On Clips, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app, people are actually in the chat now. I'm looking at it. We have 6 Everydayers. Shout out to Dan Traz42, Devin, and Seahawk15. If you want to be a part of this crew, because I was messaging in the chat yesterday, Benedict Matherin debut. If you're a listener of this show and you're like, man, I wish I could ask Dime questions more. He doesn't respond to my comments. There's a lot of comments. Join the Everydayer Club. It's perfect for everyday listeners of the show. As I mentioned, you get an ad-free version of this of Locked On Clips, but you also get to chat with other Clipper fans, including myself. We have 6 people. We're trying to make it grow. LockedOnClippers.supercast.com is where you check it out, or go to Locked On Clippers on this channel and tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, so the Clippers losing 102-95 at the Toyota Center against the Houston Rockets. And it was the debut of 2 new Clippers, Bennedict Matherin and Isaiah Jackson. And I was mostly excited for Bennedict Matherin. So Ben Matherin was the 6th pick in the draft for the Indiana Pacers. And I talked in 2022, and I talked about him very briefly when we got him in that pod, but I didn't do like a deep dive on what we can expect from Ben Matherin. And that is something that I still wish to do, especially during this period of the All-Star break, because we're only going to have seen him play 2 games anyway. But I was super excited to see him because this is a guy who was one of the leading candidates for Rookie of the Year in the 2022-23 season. It ended up being Paolo Banchero who ended up winning it, but I believe Ben Matherin finished in third place. Let me just double check that. Fourth place. And that year it was Paolo Banchero, J-Dub, Walker Kessler, and then Ben Matherin. He averaged 17 points a game that year. So you're getting a guy who is a scorer. Not only averaged 17 points that year, but 14 and a half points the following year where the Pacers made the conference finals. However, he missed the entire postseason. And then last year he came back, started 49 out of 72 games, and averaged 16 points for a finals team on 46, 34, 83 splits. Now, obviously, the three-point shot there, the percentage there is a little concerning, but I'm just looking at what can he bring to our Clippers, right? So he comes in, and immediately you can tell that this guy is going to bring a level of dynamism to our offense. He can get downhill. He can shoot pull-up jumpers. He can create his own shot, and more importantly, create shots for others. That's what stuck out to me. A guy that can play in pick and roll. A guy, and I don't know how good of a pick and roll decision maker he is, but first impressions, he's one of the better ones on this team already. There was a really nice drive and kick early in his time in the game where we swung the ball and found Kawhi Leonard, who was open for three, pump faked and stepped into a mid-range that made it 28-27. He had a beautiful outlet pass down the court at one point to, I forget who it was, maybe Chris Dunn. And then there was a beautiful football pass down the court to Jordan Miller, who ended up not getting a shot off because Amen Thompson's footsteps were in the rear view. But I saw a lot of solid shot creation from Ben Matherin. The one thing was he was pretty ice cold. But outside of 2 or 3 shot attempts, I thought he took good shots. The only ones I had a problem with were one time he got Alperen Şengün on him on a switch and he settled for a jumper. That's got to be downhill every time. And then later in the game, he took a Tracy McGrady / Kobe Bryant long 2 pull-up, which, bro, if you're going to take a long 2, what's it called? They're part of, if you're going to take those kinds of shots, you have to hit them. You know what I'm saying? You have to hit them because you might as well be taking a pull-up 3 off the dribble if you're going to take those shots. That's where I actually kind of agree with the analytics, where we should rule out those pull-up 2s unless you are like 18-footers or 20-footers, unless you're like really money at them and you're like Michael Jordan or Kobe, where like 2 steps back really changes your efficiency. Because like, for example, those guys were amazing from 20 feet, but they weren't the best three-point shooters. But that was their shot. I don't know if Ben Matherin is given the same privileges as Michael Jordan, and especially in a different era. But that being said, I need to see what is he shooting from there. I'll do more deep diving on it. We'll see how he does. But those were 2 or 3 shots I forget the third one, that I had a problem with. But other than that, he missed a floater, his first shot. Then he got the rebound and missed a layup that he should have made. And then he missed a wide open 3, missed a wide open mid-range where he pump faked and got a dude in the air. So he took a lot of solid shots. And I like that he's kind of a gunner. I've heard he's kind of a chucker. He kind of took the Pacers out of their offensive, scheme. But look, we don't play that fast-paced, get the ball to both sides style of the Pacers, which is very aesthetically pleasing, and I like it a lot. But when it comes to just Bennedict Matherin making a positive difference on this Clipper team, I think there's a lot of potential there. And the one thing I haven't even mentioned yet was his defense. I've not heard anything about Ben Matherin as a defender, but he came in, and I immediately saw it. It really popped out. The way he was fighting over screens, I was like, oh, okay, this guy wants to prove something. And I love that. But now he needs to realize that now that he has shown the coaching staff, specifically Jeff Van Gundy, that he can guard like this, that's going to be the expectation every time. And at the end of the day, when you're a young player like Ben Matherin, who's not carrying a huge offensive load, but you're carrying some load, you need to bring it every night on that end of the floor, because that's the way you're going to guarantee yourself minutes even when you're not shooting well. The one thing we don't want is for Ben to become a guy who, if he's not shooting well, how else does he impact your team? Because that's kind of what Norman Powell was. But Ben, not only did he fight over screens really well, he got several interceptions and deflections. I thought he was super active defensively. And he got going a little bit towards the end in that little run, but I think it was a decent debut, even though he shot very poorly. For Benedict Matherin, he played 26 minutes, which was the most of any bench player. And in this game, we went 9 deep. Yannick, Jordan, Nico Batum, by the way, did not play. Coach's decision, and he's not going to play again on Wednesday. So he's getting DNPs. We maybe could have used his three-point shooting, to be honest. And I didn't even notice that he didn't play until now, which is really like brain dead of me. But we might have needed some three-point shooting because we only shot 27%. But Jay Mill, Yannick, Kobe Sanders, and Benedict Matherin was our bench. So straight up all young dudes. All young dudes. And Ben had 9 points, 7 rebounds, which was the second most on our team. Well, third, I should say, because Collins and Kawhi had 8 apiece. 7 rebounds, 4 assists, which was the second most on our team, tied with Kobe Sanders after Chris Dunn. So 9, 7, and 4 to go along with 3 steals. 3 steals. No turnovers. But he did shoot 4 for 13 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, and made his only free throw. I think Ben Matherin, though, is going to be great. I expect him to have a better shooting game on Wednesday, and I'm excited about the possibilities with him, like thoroughly excited. So I think we got a good one, Clipper Nation, and I'm just the excitement level that I had to watch this game, knowing that there's a young Clipper top 10 pick, like, I don't know. I haven't felt like that in a while, and I'm super excited for the future. But coming up, going to be talking about the other players, how else the game went, and just some issues about our team right now until we get DG back. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. The winter games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the winter games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of USA versus Canada or any of these various sports for the Winter Olympics can all be bet on FanDuel. And it's not just the Winter Olympics. You got the NBA. Right now, the three-point contest. The leader in the odds right now, the favorite, is Con Canupel of the Charlotte Hornets. And then, as far as the round, like you can bet on the round 1 scores. In terms of winning the championship right now, the Detroit Pistons are favored to win the East. The Thunder are heavy favorites to win the West. And the Clippers are actually higher in the odds again. We are now back in the top 10 to win the West. So where can you go to bet on all that? FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. All right, so your LA Clippers losing to the Houston Rockets 102-95. I put it down to a simple fact that they have 2 stars and we have 1. And right now, we have a little bit of an issue. And that issue is we only have 1 star, and a lot of teams have multiple. So I love John Collins. I love all the players that we're playing. But when it comes to, trying to help Kawhi Leonard and this team make the play-in this season, we're going to need Darius Garland back. Because I don't know if the Ben Matherins and the Kobe Sanders and the JCs and Brooke Lopez, all these guys, Jordan Miller, can get us enough points to and create enough good shots for us to make the play-in. We're going to need more. So we're going to need Darius Garland back. Because we have a real shot creation issue to some degree. When Kawhi comes out of the game, it's tough. But here's what I will say. This is the time for our younger players to learn themselves as NBA players. Learn what kind of players they are. Are they pick and roll ball handlers? Are they strictly off-ball guys? This is the time to get it done. Now, the thing is, it's kind of like a two timeline thing where Kawhi Leonard is playing at such a high level. You want him to have the best chance he can to compete right now. But then we have these young guys like Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller who are learning themselves finally, in an NBA setting throughout the course of a season. So here's what I will say. Kawhi Leonard, the Rockets' strategy was to blitz him and get the ball out of his hands. They did it basically all game long, which put certain people in 4-on-3 situations. The guy who I thought did the best in those 4-on-3 situations, Chris Dunn. He was super, super active, but I need to talk about him for a sec. So Chris Dunn had this stretch in the second quarter where he was damn near coming up with a steal every single possession, but then... Apologies for all that. I'm getting so many calls. That's what happens when you run a business, but it's very frustrating. Anyway, sorry about that. Chris Dunn was getting a steal damn near every possession. And then he was missing or not completing the fast break every single time down the floor. It was like very frustrating to some degree. So I'll give you an example. First, he gets like a clean steal. And then he throws a bad pass on a fast break, but it was partially because guys weren't running the floor properly. Like they didn't space out when they were running the floor. So it was kind of congested. It was kind of like two guys standing in the same location. And Chris Dunn turned the ball over. Then he gets another steal, goes into the body of his defender, and smokes the dunk at the rim. I was like, oh my God, Chris, come on, dude. And then we get another steal. But he kept the ball too long. And then DJ got stripped by Reed Shepherd. But I thought overall Chris Dunn was everywhere in the quarter. Contesting shots, stealing the ball, knocked down a floater, had a nice kick out to Brook Lopez, a nice pass to John Collins. He was everywhere in this game, but the foul trouble did hurt him a little bit. However, I just thought he was solid all the way around. Just needs to stay out of foul trouble. 6 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 1 turnover on 3 for 5 shooting and missed his only 3. Did, as I mentioned, 5 fouls, but I thought he had a pretty good game overall. I mean, only 5 shots and he shot 60%. It's just I wish he would have played over 30 minutes because we kind of needed him in this game. And then DJ was not the best shooting game for DJ. 6 points on 2 for 7 shooting and 2 for 6 from 3. 1 rebound, 2 blocks, 1 turnover in 27 minutes. I mean, so it is what it is. DJ just came back from injury. He's still going to help you even when he's not hitting shots, which he did in this game. But we just don't have that much room for error when it comes to not hitting shots. He's a very important part of this team right now. So that's what I have to say about that. As far as our defense, we had Lopez on Şengün. They started Tari Eason on Kawhi, by the way, if I didn't mention that. And, of course, we're going to switch 1 through 4, and so are they. They went with some 2 big lineups for brief moments. Of course, they don't have Steven Adams anymore this season, so it's kind of just Clint Capella and Şengün. Lopez was playing drop coverage against LP. It didn't seem to be costly at all. I thought Brook Lopez was actually really solid in this game, and his best stretch came in the second quarter where he made a 3, got a steal, had a nice contest, had a beautiful spin move in the post on Alperen Şengün, and then did a nice job boxing out Jabari Smith at the end of the second quarter. So I thought Brook Lopez had a pretty solid game. 7 points, 2 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, 2 turnovers. Here's what I'll say, though, and here's the craziest part about this game. We out-rebounded Houston, who's the best rebounding team in the league, at least from what I remember. And we actually got more offensive rebounds than them. 17 for us and only 10 for them. And I noticed it. Like, it was noticeable when I watched because I think when you have this injection of youth, we now aren't that old, slow, geriatric team we were in the beginning of the season. We can go for loose balls. We are going to attack the rebound, the offensive glass. So that was a breath of fresh air for sure. In terms of Lopez, the stat that's a little bit concerning is that he only had 2 rebounds. But I will say this, there were a lot of times that he boxed out and someone else got the rebound. So you don't get any credit for that in the stat sheet. So I genuinely think Brook Lopez wasn't bad. I think that he gave us enough from what I expect from him to win. He shot 50% from 3. I mean, all you can ask for, really. John Collins, I thought he was fantastic yet again. He got off to a great start, had a nice jump hook, had a putback dunk, hung in the air for like a little push shot floater in the corner. That was very, I want to say Jordan-esque, but it doesn't have nearly the aesthetically pleasing form of Michael Jordan, but it was really nice. And then I just thought that he was pretty good throughout the game, and he's just been amazing lately. 17 points, 8 boards, which tied with Kawhi for the most for any player. 1 assist, 1 turnover on 8 for 14 shooting, 0 for 2 from 3, 1 for 2 from the free throw line in 31 minutes. JC's been on a tear lately. I'm really happy for him and the way that he's playing. And then our bench guys, Yannick, I think it's a little bit questionable that he only played 13 minutes where Brook Lopez played 29. I think we can make that a little bit more even. But overall with Yannick, the only thing I can say is, he had some good moments contesting at the rim. He did struggle a bit with Alperen Şengün. And it's tough with Şengün, right? Because, and with any good post player, if you don't jump on their jump hooks, they're going to get it off, and they're probably going to get a good shot off, and he made them. But if you jump, you're leaving yourself susceptible for a potential pump fake, and Şengün is pretty good about using those. So it's all about timing, I guess timing the shot, but it is easier said than done. Yannick had 3 points, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks, 1 turnover on 1 for 3 shooting, and was 1 for 2 from the foul line in 13 minutes. I thought it was an okay game for Yannick. I think 13 minutes is not enough to properly judge, honestly. And then Kobe Sanders. Great defense. Great defense on Kevin Durant. Forced him into some tough shots. But man, he could not hit the broadside of a barn. And there's a lot of people that are going out on social media and saying there's no way Kobe Sanders is a ball handler. He has to be a play finisher. He has to be a connector. I honestly don't agree. And maybe it's because I'm like an AAU coach and I see it from a developmental lens. But if you actually look at the shots that Kobe Sanders is getting, he's making decent reads in the pick and roll. Does he make the right read every time? No. But you got to give him a chance. It's his first season. If he is a play finisher and not a play creator, then fine. But I don't think that what we're seeing is a guy that's incapable in the future of being a guy who can get his own shot or create shots in pick and roll. A lot of times he's coming off screens, getting wide open looks, and he's just not hitting them. And yes, does he need to put in more work with his handle? Absolutely. He got stripped at one point yesterday, and I was like, damn. Does he need to put in more work with his off the dribble jump shot? Absolutely. Is he the finished product just because he's an older rookie? No. I don't think that I'm ready to say that he's just a play finisher. Now, somebody who probably is closer to me saying he's a play finisher is Jordan Miller. And in this game, he was just okay. So Kobe Sanders, 2 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 1 turnover on 1 for 9 shooting, 0 for 5 from 3. But my favorite stat there is the 4 assists. So I'm telling you, he is making some good plays. But it was just a bad shooting game for Kobe. I'm not tripping on it. It's part of the process. And I'm okay with seeing losses because guys like that are struggling because they're going to be good in the future, at least in my opinion. And then Jordan Miller, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, did turn the ball over 3 times. He shot 2 for 5 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, 3 for 6 from the free throw line. Would have been nice to even have one of those 3 missed free throws to get him to double figures. I thought it was an okay game for Jordan Miller. Truthfully, we're going to need more without, Darius Garland. And of course, when you have Ben Matherin, Jordan Miller, and Kobe Sanders combining for 7 for 27, that's going to be tough. So our bench just didn't give us enough at all. Collectively, they gave us 23 points. And off the Rockets bench, you got 16 from Reed Shepherd. It's funny because we ended up actually scoring more off the bench than they did, but they only went 8 deep. We went 9 deep. My last thought was on Isaiah Jackson, who came in and was playing small ball 5 and showed us a lot of great positional size, athleticism, scored a layup, and had an and 1. So honestly, in the 5 minutes that he had 5 points and a rebound. I thought it was we'll see if he gets. I would consider maybe throwing him in there off the bench with Nico out on Wednesday. I would consider it. He had some pretty promising minutes in those 5 short minutes, and it wasn't like they were playing against the third stringers of the Rockets. They were still playing their good players. So I don't know. I'm overall just excited about the direction of the team. We got another game to end the pre-All-Star break portion of the season on Wednesday. Let's see how it goes. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I might be live on Wednesday for the first time in a while and get back to the swing of things. And of course, Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell to get us up to 9,000 subscribers before the end of the season. And of course, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. And the Everydayer Club, 6 people in it and counting. If you want an ad-free version of the show and an opportunity to talk to me and other Clipper fans more, head on over to lockedonclippers.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.